Welcome to Fireteam Chat, IGN's Destiny show. Thank you so much for joining us. Joining me today in the studio is CJ Gibson.
What's up?
Fran Mirabella.
Hey, Guardians.
And Sean Finnegan.
Hello.
Oh, yes. No more Chomp. I love
come
it.
back.
So on today's show, we're going to be talking about all the changes that are coming with the Curse of Osiris update, or expansion, if you will, in just a few days. And one note about our giveaway, it has actually ended. So be sure you're checking your email and social accounts to see if you won. Now, last week I was out, but James Duggan had a ton to say about the update, about the expansion upcoming, and he had a follow-up that we're going to play right now. Take it away, Duggan.
Thanks, Destin. Sorry I couldn't be there. I was too busy going flawless in trials. No prestige raid yet for me, though. Anyway, let's talk about the Destiny 2 State of the Game update. I want to give you my thoughts on it. In addition to all of this being, I think, good for the game and moving it in a good direction, the outstanding question in my mind is one of the idea of Destiny 2 being a collection game and also being a sequeled release, that we will have a Destiny 3 and a Destiny 4 and all of this stuff will only be good for a certain amount of time before all my progress is wiped. I'm having a really hard time rationalizing that in the context of the direction the game is going. So anyway, what I'm going to do is go through the points that they talked about from what I think are the worst for the game to what I think are the best. So the worst thing, I think, is the reputation tokens. They said the acquisition rate will be increased as well as the cost, at which point I ask why. But anyway, why do I even want these? You know, the question for why I want reputation tokens has still not been answered. When it comes to destination-specific reputation tokens and reputation rewards, there is very little there that I want unless I'm specifically going for a transmog set. But for me, I think that each destination rep vendor should sell one or two really worthwhile items. An example being Uriel's gift, or how about ships, sparrows, and emotes that are specific to the planet instead of just the armor sets. And this is stuff that is locked behind bright engrams. Destiny 2 is not a free-to-play game. This is not a subscription-based game. This is a conventionally monetized $60 release that has DLC that costs money. We do not need a supplemental microtransaction system that is inhibiting content like ships and sparrows and emotes. But let's move on. The gunsmith in particular will have rotating random mods for sale. That's cool. I had to grind to get like the min-max mods, but ultimately I'm not seeing a cool gameplay implication from these mods, so I think the mod system in particular just needs a bigger rework, and this is a cool band-aid for the time so you can become theoretically optimal more quickly, which I think is really nice. Next up is specific loot acquisition. So this is definitely fixing an issue, there's no doubt about that. Anybody who played Iron Banner Season 1 can attest to the fact that it's really annoying and terrible when you turn in 80 engrams and you don't get the full armor set from that. That sucks as a player. So this is an objective fix for that, which is great, but it does present a larger problem. For me, I have the Season 1 Iron Banner gear. I have the Season 1 Trials gear. Why do I want the Season 2 Iron Banner gear? Is it because Destiny is a collection game? Is it because I'm going around and kind of OCD getting all of this stuff? Well, that's kind of mutually exclusive in my mind with the idea of a Destiny 3 coming and wiping out all my progression. And now that we know that that is the cadence, I'm not really likely to do that content. Also, Season 2 and seasons in general are a supplemental system that presents the same content as new instead of providing an increased level of engagement in that content. As an example, seasons I would classify as breadth of content. Something like ranked PvP I would classify as depth of content. And I think we all want more depth of content in Destiny 2. Next up is Faded Engrams. This is great. I'm missing Vigilance Wing. I'm going to be happy to get it. At least exotics confer interesting gameplay, so the idea of collecting a bunch of those every week is more interesting to me than something like Iron Banner armor. All right, next up is the Emote Wheel. And this is great because this is quadrupling the amount of emotes I can show off, which is effectively quadrupling the amount of storytelling I can do with emotes. But the problem here is that emotes are locked behind bright engrams and are therefore not interesting in terms of storytelling, period. It would be much cooler if I killed Callus on Prestige and I got a robot emote, right? And then I could equip that to one of my 4 emote slots. So let's move on to Masterworks. I like the idea. This is basically kind of a Diablo 3 primal or ancient legendary thing happening. It generates orbs on multi-kills, small stat boost, and tracks enemies and players killed. That's exciting, and dismantling Masterworks gives you crafting material to upgrade another weapon, so you don't have to go around aimlessly looking for the one weapon you want. That's cool, and it is providing a small additional grind. But what I really like about Masterworks is there is a higher drop rate in raids and trials specifically, and that I think is excellent because it's incentivizing more difficult content, which is something I want. Everything past this point, in terms of what I'm going to be talking about, I really like the idea of, but we generally need more details. The first one being ornaments. I didn't play Destiny 1, so I didn't get to experience this. This is a really interesting idea for me, a really cool idea, because it is, instead of adding breadth, adding depth, right? I have to get 25 Crucible wins to get this particular ornament for Season 2 that I can then put on my armor that I already have, that I already like. That's an awesome idea. I would love to see some more difficult achievements, like maybe get 200 headshot kills before the Iron Banner Season 2 is over. I think that would kind of light a fire under your butt to get in Crucible and start doing some of this content. Next up is better incentives for prestige activities. This is excellent. We just need more details on what exactly that is. Interesting loot hunts in the game right now, in my opinion, are the Legend of Acreus and the Trials gear, specifically the Flawless Trials gear. The Legend of Acreus tells a story. You had to go into the raid, you had to do it again, you had to get all of the 10 shards, and then you had to do it in Prestige to get the ornament. So you have all of this storytelling happening with a single item, and I think that should be applied to a bunch of different items, and even things like emotes and ships in Destiny 2. Same thing with Flawless Trials. When I see somebody in a full set, I know that they had to go flawless over a couple of weeks, and that's really cool. Same thing for Heroic Strike playlists and rewards. There could be some really cool rewards there, but we need more details to see exactly what that is. It could totally be a dud, who knows. Anyway, my number one thing that I'm the most excited for from the state of the game Destiny 2 is ranked PvP. I would love to see rewards from attaining a specific rank. I think this gives PvP potentially a really good grind over a longer period of time, as opposed to just doing it just when Trials is happening or just when Iron Banner is happening. I could be grinding for a specific rank to get specific rewards for bragging rights. That's great. And this is, again, increasing the level of player engagement. It's increasing the depth as opposed to the breadth of the content. And therefore, I think that's a step in the right direction. So I'm really excited after this update, after seeing State of the Game, to see where Destiny 2 goes. I still have a lot of concerns, especially when it comes to sequels. But for now, I'm definitely satiated, and I'll continue playing Destiny 2. Thank you so much. Toss it back to you.
That's great, Duggan. Sounds like a little bit of salt with that one. Here's what we thought. We'll start with CJ. You have a ton of notes. We're going to do 3 positive things that we liked about the update and 3 negative. Let's start with the positive before we get into salt territory.
Ranked PvP. It is not dated yet. It's kind of ambiguously 2018, but thank you. That's the biggest one. I mean, there's a bunch of other quality of life things that I'm super excited about coming December 5th. I think the Masterwork weapon thing is really cool too, but honestly, ranked PvP. Like, it needed to happen way sooner. It's nice that it's coming, but I think there's going to be a lot of questions about how that's implemented. We had a little conversation yesterday.
Yeah, so like, why does that have you so excited?
I think, especially when you play a lot of the big games right now, Call of Duty, you know, I'm playing in the meantime when I'm not playing Destiny. I mean, I am still playing a lot of Destiny, but I've been going back and forth for other games, and everything from your kills being tracked to just gaining a number to show that you're actually achieving something and you're getting something a little bit more than 1 token. It just, the reward system for PvP is broken. And so I love Destiny PvP on PC. I'm struggling to play it on console. Sean, you and I were talking a bit about that, but yeah, that's what's exciting, that you have this potential, you know, other meta game to chase. And we don't know what that looks like. It could be seasons, it could be a number, it could be any limited things. But the fact that they've discussed it, I'm excited for it coming in 2018.
Sean, you've been asking for a mode like this for a long time. Is this something that's on your list?
Absolutely. I mean, me and CJ are big PvP players, although we also spend a lot of time in PvE. But like, CJ goes as far as saying, like, in between all of the content drops that we get, which are pretty frequent over the life of Destiny 1, like, what really pulled Destiny 1 together was its trials. Like, people came back every week because they wanted to improve their PvP skills. So I think a renewed focus on what PvP can mean in Destiny 2 is a really good thing. And kind of going off of that, my positive thing was private matches, because I think that in terms of, it goes along with what CJ was saying. A renewed focus on PvP is great, but specifically for me, I want to see the competitive community flourish, and I think it can only do so if private matches are supported, so that people who create the leagues and competitive sort of groups that kind of foster the community have a way to create a level playing field, which is what all competitive games need.
I hope it's really similar to how it was in Destiny 1, where you could pick the map, the mode, and kind of customize the game type that you want to play. I'm looking forward to that also.
I hope they go even a little bit deeper, like things like, you know, spawn positioning, how the ammo restrictions restrictions work. Trials actually, the thing I like about this version of Trials in the 9 is the lock loadouts thing. I think that's really smart implementation of it. The intro screen was cool the first time.
Yeah, the very first
It's a little
time,
long now, but it's neat to actually know that these are what your enemies are going to bring to the game. And I think that's super important. So those kind of details and tweaks within private matches, I hope they customize it just a little bit more than they did Destiny 1.
What about you, Fran? What do you got on the positive side?
Well, I know one of these is on your list, so I'm going to skip that one for now. But the whole Raoul faction and vendor stock stuff, being able to buy legendaries and that economy contributing to your ability to get masterwork, which are going to re-roll, and we'll get into that. That, for me, is going to be a big one. Just the fact that you go to Raoul and buy Engrams and go to a vendor, and instead of just the token system, there's going to be a lineup of all the pieces of gear. And there was something about earning the slots, maybe powering them up. So it seems like there's a lot there that you can now complete your sets. You can chase things like hopefully the Antiope. Hopefully the Gunsmith is selling too. So all of that stuff, that's one of my most exciting things because you have a reason to now chase legendary shards and to earn more than just these rewards after you cash in your tokens.
So I think we all agreed that Masterworks was a good thing. Two of the things, kind of jumping off yours, friend, Xur's update and buying gear. Those are tremendous, fantastic updates that I wish were there at the beginning. I think it's going to be an awesome way to incentivize you to continue to do that because literally I'm at a point where I don't see any incentive to play the game anymore because I'm not going to get anything. I turned in 17 engrams during Iron Banner, and I never got armor. I'm just like, why am I even playing
That's
this
pretty
game?
Crazy.
Why am I playing this game?
I even got a little bit lucky there. I got all of the armor minus the helm.
You got lucky.
Maybe it's karma, Destin. We all got it.
Well, that's fine if it's karma. I'm just not going to play the game until they've addressed these issues, and they are.
They are.
Yeah. We know it's an issue community-wide, actually. I talked to people who did 50 packages and couldn't do it.
Yeah,
Bungie did
someone
120.
Someone tweeted at us.
120 packages.
Does anyone have his name on? Yeah, but we got someone tweeted us like, look, 120 packages.
Yeah.
0 armor drops. Like that's
zero?
Absurd. Yeah.
Well,
That is
no,
something
I think he got
Didn't
one
get-
character. His other two, he just stopped getting armor drops.
Interesting.
It's just there's something wrong with the system, and it's been like that for a long time. I'm really, really happy that they're addressing it, and they're addressing it by, hey, play the game, play 25 matches, and you can buy that piece of gear. I'm like, oh, great!
Well,
I have something to chase.
I was gonna say, like, in general, this is like a really big thing for Bungie, and I think we should say, I think we should give them credit because one, it is really tough. We talked about it on last week's episode, but even just coming out and directly addressing something when you know it's been controversial, the way you've been communicating with your community, it invites a lot of potential hate and a lot of potential feedback that they may not be ready for. So it takes a lot of courage to go out there and be like, look, we hear that you guys have issues. This is how we're going to address the issues with whatever we can tell you at the time. So it's credit to Bungie for coming out and saying that. One of the things we've always wanted was them to be a little bit more transparent and better about their communication with the community. So that they're doing that is a really good thing.
And the
They've
podcast.
said they're gonna.
Well, we don't know what they're going to do beyond this first big reaction.
They've said they're going to be
they're
more
gonna address it.
communicative with the community in the past,
previous,
and
yes.
hopefully they continue to do it. But we kind of have had this wall, and it's been broken down, thankfully, and they are communicating. I hope that continues because right now it's a positive thing.
This is a
Go ahead,
big.
Fran.
Can I take this brief interlude to? This was one of the biggest things outside the top 3 for me.
Okay.
I do just want to point out that we listened to the podcast. This is
Yeah.
one of the biggest topics on there. We want to communicate, but for me, they really focused on actions speak louder than words, and we've heard that before.
That's
And
how they
so-
work.
That's how they work, exactly. So I already know that about them. Of course, they want to show us the result. Like, what in their minds, what point is it to bring it up without having the solution? But I disagree with that. I think it's a 3-step process and not 2. I wrote this down because I wanted to organize my thoughts.
Yeah.
But they make it sound like it's 2 steps: listening to us and having the actions that address things. And for many of us, I think it's a 3-step process. It is about what's so important is that they listen, confirm, and then act. So it's the confirmation to
I mean,
us.
that's just general human communication. Like you have to hear when you're having a
confirm
conversation.
we're being heard.
Yeah.
And like that's the big thing here is like that's what we liked about Christopher Barrett's update was he just confirmed that he heard us.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what, we're working on it. We don't know. I'm fine with that. I think that is what they're so afraid of. I think there's a PR element. And so for me, it's just like, hey, roll the dice this time. Just can we try this? Just please this time. Let's try. Listen, we're going to confirm that, yeah, you know what? I don't think exotics are tuned right. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like, you're with us, right? Now we know, like, you hear us. That doesn't mean it's right or wrong. But so that's what I want to hear most. And then, yeah, again, I think they're afraid of being silent. And again, I want to just hear them say something like, hey, we hear you. The end game for hobbyists and hardcore players isn't where we want it to be in terms of rewards. We agree tokens could be fixed. Okay. You don't have to have the action yet. So that is what I'm afraid of, again, is please don't go back to, we're not going to talk about tokens or the vault until we have a solution. I think there's a good in-between there.
Yeah, I think everybody, myself included, it's just like, oh, another PR answer. Like, I don't
we're
even want to
afraid
hear it anymore. I'm just like, all right, stop. Like, okay, I know what the PR answer is. I'm asking you a direct question.
And you listen to the podcast too. I mean, I will say it was nice to hear Mark and Luke talk very genuinely and candid about that. Some colorful language also in there to just like emphasize the point. Sean, you said that last week one time you wanted to say a word and you're like, it seems more impactful when I swear. And they kind of just had this very raw thing about, you know, their dialogue, which is kind of refreshing. I think the biggest challenge, and you heard them talk about it, is that there's a bunch of decisions. It's a big company. They're making them up here, and then communication is way down here. So it's like if you're Deej, and again, I think we felt really bad from that second, stream. It was not a good stream, and it's like you can see the wheels turning, but oh, look at this, the big machine's moving. Guys, when is it going to happen? Okay, and it's like that is what we need to know. There's nothing I think that Deej could do in a lot of these situations if they're not having that direct line of communication. So you can clearly see that there's some things obviously they need to do, and they admitted that.
Because stuff has to get approved to be said.
Right.
That's the system you want to iron out.
Yeah.
Like,
It
make
doesn't
that
just
every
happen
week.
in a day.
Here's your approved communications for the week.
So bringing it back into something positive, the Zur update I think is great. I'm glad they're bringing back 3 coins. I'm glad they sort of addressed how 3
Interesting.
coins work, and I'm glad they give you an exotic engram you can purchase.
Faded engram is what it's called.
And it gives you something that you don't have, basically. So you're not going to like run into that trap of getting duplicate exotics. That's probably how they're addressing it temporarily.
Was your understanding that the faded engram, so Zur will, you can buy it with, I think, what, legendary shards?
97 shards.
97 of them? Oh, that
Yes.
was the number on there. I just stupidly didn't look at it.
And it's supposed to be an exotic weapon you don't
have in your
Weapon or armor.
weapon armor. Sorry, exotic weapon armor. But what we don't know yet is it 1 per account
That's what I wanted to ask.
or 1 per character.
It's 1 per
CJ cut me
character.
off. Look at that. The Canadian. I'm just kidding.
I know.
See, it goes both ways. No,
The way
that
Destiny
was what
2
I was
works, it seems like it's per character. I don't think they would mess with that. So I'm guessing 3.
You think so? But see, we don't know. They say
know.
you can buy 1. We don't know if it's count wide yet, but
The way they phrased it, it made it sound like
it's
per
cool.
character. For
Again, I'm not.
I
It's
really
not a
like
negative
it.
for me. I think it's an incentive, and actually, I don't want it to be.
I'll
I don't
bet
think
you-
I want it to be 3.
I'll bet you it's account wide.
Yeah, I hope that
If
is.
it is
They
97
haven't done
shards.
That's what I
anything account wide this release.
No,
Think about it
not
though.
yet,
How many
but-
shards do you have?
Yeah, tons.
Oh, okay, you're right. That's account wide.
Yeah.
But think about how many shards they're asking for.
And think about if you
100
actually-
shards?
Yeah,
per
and,
thing?
And if you actually think about you have potentially,
I have like 1,000
You
shards.
limit 3 other times you can get an exotic per week.
Let's think about.
We'll
anyway,
see.
we'll find out. I actually hope it's 1 because I'm worried
too.
that.
I mean, is that
suddenly
one-
you buy everything?
That one's like December 5th, right?
I believe it was.
Yeah, 5th or the 12th.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to find out very soon.
My counterpoint to that is I actually think it's a negative thing.
You're crazy, but okay.
No, I'll tell you why. Because
You're
if
You're
you-
objectively wrong, but I'll hear you anyway.
Exactly. I mean, I understand. I think there's some merit to it. Right now, within Destiny's current system, the reason why I think it's broken is it can potentially eliminate the exotic chase just by logging in weekly and going to Zur. And
Going
then,
to Zur already eliminates the exotic chase. Continue.
okay, but right now, his relevance will be basically negated within potentially a span of a couple days. Then what are you going to Zur for? Or a couple weeks?
That's why I'm saying
Oh, wait,
it
you
shouldn't
disagree
be
with
3.
1?
No, I disagree with almost the system in general.
Well, that's what I meant. So
because what
with
happens
1,
too is that I think right now the way exotics are dropping is the issue. What I would love to see, and this I think goes along with what Duggan was saying, which I didn't hear what he said. Right now, what was one of your favorite drops for an exotic in Destiny 1?
Favorite drops from Galahorn.
Okay, so besides Galahorn,
Well, but that wasn't even
Last
added to
Vex Mythoclast.
Oh, yeah, Vex.
right?
Oh, okay.
Where did you get Vex?
Yeah, the vault.
Raid.
Raid.
At Atheon.
Yeah.
Where does that happen in Destiny 2?
Nowhere.
You can't get
Acreus.
Vex in Destiny.
Accurate.
That's a quest.
But my point is,
Yeah.
that's what the game's missing. It's missing these moments where you
I
go,
just gave an example where they have it.
No, but
Oh,
you gave
yeah,
a quest. Legend of Accuracy is a quest.
it's a
though.
quest. though.
Yeah.
He's talking about like a random like encounter specific
okay.
drop.
Right?
That makes sense.
And to me, that is, I think, what, because everybody talks about, oh, there's no post screen, there's no, hey, we beat Crota and got this thing. We got Black Spindle, we got Black
Yes.
Hammer.
So
I wish there was more of those, and I think that this will potentially limit that. So the last thing, I don't want the exotics that are quests or potentially could drop like that in that Zermix.
They normally aren't.
So
Like you can't get
right.
Mida and Sturm as far as we know, right?
Exactly.
I understand what you're saying. They are sort of addressing it. They're saying better incentive for prestige activities in the raids. So that could potentially be better weapons. But I've heard better incentives before, and then we got 2 tokens that flew.
By the way, it is December 12th. We don't have all the dates there, so I pulled them up here if we need to reference it.
For that one was actually specifically for January for better incentives for prestige activities.
That one, yes. And I was referencing the Zur Faded Engram, 3 coins. That will be added after the 12th.
So the final positive for me that we all agreed on was definitely the Masterworks. How do you guys feel about this? I think it's going to have more of an impact than players are giving it credit for. Any weapon that's going to generate orbs is going to change how people play.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of the
That's
features.
one of the
One of them.
The re-rollable stats for me, that's the one.
So
Select
careful,
small
though.
pool
Yeah.
that they
Yes.
approve, and then you will get some re-roll based on that, which I assume hopefully only comes from drops and not like going to a kiosk to re-roll. We know that
They
didn't work.
They
right.
did say if you don't have a Masterworks, you can purchase a
You can
Masterworks
also-
version for legendaries.
You can
Yes.
shred and
Break
get
it down.
materials
Yeah.
from other Masterworks that you can go into upgrading legendaries into Masterworks from.
And it sounds almost like a crafting system, which is interesting. I'm kind of into that.
It's I think we got to be careful. I was looking at Reddit and a bunch of other people talking is that a lot of people don't really see it as like a re-rollable weapon because the core stats of most of the legendaries will stay the same.
Yeah.
So the argument was it's not really re-rollable because
That's how it was in Destiny 1, though. The core stats stayed the same.
in most of them,
No,
but some of them were straight up like random rolls in every perk slot in every stat. This does not do that.
Funny, this is what I asked for, actually. I forget what I said on the episode. I was like, I want like a tier in there that's re-rollable, but not like totally random.
Right.
I mean, this
Yeah, I was
sounds
gonna say,
perfect
like,
to me.
it's
Something
not-
selective, like they know what the god roll is going to be,
Right.
hopefully, roughly speaking, and they kind of tune it towards that.
Yes.
Like it's not re-rollable in the sense of what was the system that they had before Infusion?
Forging.
There was a bunch.
Yeah, but the one that
It was
where
the
you'd
Forging,
sit at
yeah.
the gunsmith there,
That
sit
was-
there and re-roll over and
that
over
was,
again.
Yeah, that was forging.
Yeah, in Iron
It was
Banner,
Prison of
but it was
Elders,
only
right?
one like for
Yeah, so
a few months.
it's not re-rolling in that sense.
No.
But
Not that we know.
yeah, but or that we think, you know. But some element of customization to the weapons adds a huge amount of replayability because you're always chasing, like I said, it seems like they're finally understanding that Destiny for the hardcore players is a game of min-maxing. Like what you want to do is minimize your weaknesses and maximize your particular stats that you like to play. And like if you have the ability to do that, people are going to spend a lot more time doing it, which is really cool. So I think Masterworks is a great step in that direction.
Yeah, maybe we should use a quick example, actually, like Uriel's Gift. It has high caliber on it, I believe.
Fantastic.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's actually
makes
already
it
kind of a god roll. Maybe not the best, but there's probably another stat that you could add
The
to
one
the
they
end.
used as an example, too.
Was it? Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll
it
put
was.
that on there.
I
But
got
that's
it.
the thing. The perks for Uriel all stay the same, and the Masterworks adds. I can't remember the exact ones. You should look it up. But it adds like 4 different things from like I think a little bit more stability and
One hit
range
kill.
and-
Well, wait, we don't know what it's
On-
going to add.
Yeah,
yet.
it's,
No, but
it says it.
It does have one example here. It says reload
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's not changing the stats in the middle. It's
like a
adding
new
an
thing.
extra
Brad wants to
one
look on his phone.
the
Well,
end.
now I'm
It's not
confused that-
adding nodes. It's adding a.
Yeah, I get that, but we don't
mod.
know what the mod in there is going to offer. Like,
No, but it's not going to change the core
like-
Yeah,
base
I get
stats
that, yeah.
inside.
But
I see
like
what you're saying.
based on it adds a little bit of reload speed, you could speculate as to what other things it might do. It's minimal changes, but like it could be like
Generate orbs on kill.
yeah, which they did specify,
Mm-hmm.
or like it could be like increased weapon stability or something like that.
Yeah.
Something minor and
yeah,
small.
there you go. That's a great example.
Yeah.
You know.
Like,
And if it
Sentinel,
does-
But
glass half full, or whatever
Depending
it is
on how
now.
you play the weapon.
Oh man, like
could change how you
so
play it.
some of the stuff, like again, hate to bring it up, but like in World of Warcraft, they made great use of minimal things like this, where in that one slot where there's like the ability to make minimal changes to your character, there's like 1,000 different things you could do. Like, what if you got like plus 1% run speed, just 1%? I know as a Titan who used to be really fast in.
Not for hunters. Thanks.
I think you're getting into that interesting mod.
All I'm just saying is like, think about how
Yeah.
cool it could be if
Yeah.
they gave the thought to all the different things you could put in that.
Yeah,
slot.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I like this small pool, but see, yeah, they said it's a small pool. We know it's not
Yes.
that, but I like the idea that you're gonna get an enhanced mod in there that will hopefully, like, whatever Uriel's. There's probably something like you just said, increased stability. Awesome. You could have this killer, really killer auto. It already is killer.
Definitely. So moving on from
1%
Masterworks.
fire rate increase.
Moving on from
Fire bullets
Masterworks.
faster.
Moving on from Masterworks, did anybody else have anything else positive they wanted to add?
It was the only the third thing on my list. So I had Masterworks and the reroll, and then
did
I
too.
had the buying factions, vendor stock stuff, and my third thing was actually exotic tuning. So that was really important. Is they're looking at the exotic pool because I think we can all. In fact, who thinks there's like really powerful exotics that you want to use out there? Raise your
Right
hand.
now?
Yeah.
Mida.
There's this really good one called
Yeah.
Fighting Lion. I love it.
So there you go. I think other than Mida,
It's terrible.
they might have messed up the balance. So
there it is.
There it is. Anyway, I think exotic tuning is exciting. Like Merciless is great or whatever, but I think especially as to PvP and stuff, that could really change the meta. We know like Thorn was an exotic, right? So I'm super excited about it.
Merciless is not great in PvP though.
That's what I'm saying. It's great in PvE. We need
It's
other
amazing
offerings.
in PvE.
You asked me what I'm excited about for an exotic weapon, and I can't even think of it.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
crazy,
We
yeah.
need you need to be like, man. Like,
The
I
most
really-
excitable one is Smita, and that's a year one weapon. That's one we
not
already
exciting.
had.
That is the bane.
I
of every-
like
Oh, so-
Sunshot. Sunshot's really solid.
I was talking to
It's not like OP.
I was talking to my party the other day, and these guys are hardcore Destiny players, but they're not the type of people who are like on the forums talking about this stuff. And I asked him what he thought. I was just like, what do you think about all these changes and stuff in Destiny 2? He goes, and all he had to say was, man, don't you think it's dumb that year one there's Mida like metagame, and in year like in Destiny 2 there's Mida like the same meta in two different games? Like
Yeah.
that's dumb. And I
You know
was
what?
like, that is a good point.
I have a good way, I think, to sum it up, especially, right? Like, when we equip stuff, we want to equip Last Hope, Uriel's Gift, Nameless Midnight, I mean, excluding Mida. So you don't really have this competition against exotics. So they need to recreate that with the desire to be like, Last Hope should be an exotic with its power. So we need, I'm not saying to do that, I'm saying we need an exotic that will be like, that's amazing, and it's going to take up a slot, but I made the choice.
Yeah.
And that's what's missing right now, especially for PvP.
Definitely. Any final notes?
I did have one thing. I think it's really cool that they're bringing back ornaments and that they're challenge based.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
like
good.
Very good.
I said it multiple times when I first went flawless in Destiny 1 and you get the wings
Yep.
like for your
Yeah.
armor. I wore that shit everywhere, man. Like, because I think it's really cool that you can look at a player and on the visuals understand that they've achieved something that maybe you haven't. It makes that player feel cool. It makes you want to chase that thing so that you can have it too, and it differentiates you from other Guardians in the tower. Like when I wore those wings and my armor was all glowing, like Guardians would walk up and be like, "What is that?" And they'd like, and I could see them go into their menus and like, I know they're inspecting me, like, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The fact that they're bringing that back and that it's not just a random drop, like you can earn it.
Yeah.
That's a really
I
cool
like that.
system for me.
I didn't like that they went away. Like, I get the flame thing. That one's sort of okay. But, like, the trial stuff going away, I'm like, really? Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like,
Yeah,
I
like-
want to earn that on all my
and the-
pieces of gear.
And the
Like,
trials,
have
the trials
the
armor
halo,
is
but-
yeah. It was
Yeah.
like the trials armor is really really cool, and if you get flawless, like parts of it glow.
Yeah.
And that's the only, as far as I know, those are the only. That's the only armor that has global pieces that you get from the flawless part. So like, just give me more of that, more customization. Make it like gaudy. Like give me like huge wings. Like
No,
that
you
would look
want-
cool.
Like you said, it's really
showing
ultimately
off.
about when you're it's showing off.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
It is, 100%.
That is
Yeah.
what it's about.
Yeah, and that's
Little tower.
Yeah, I mean,
casual
I
show.
didn't hear
Yeah.
Duggan, but I've talked to him. I've talked to him enough times. That is his favorite part of the game. He's like, man, I'm in trials. I'm going to flawless, and these scrubs didn't. So I'm going to parade around the tower. I'm like,
totally.
geez, man. But it is. It's kind of a vanity thing. So
Yeah. So moving on to some of our critiques and criticisms, we're going to get right into it. A bunch of salt upcoming, so brace yourselves.
First, a word from James Duggan. No.
exactly.
First, more salt from James. No. So I'll start. There's one that I want to address right away. They have not said anything to address the 4-year-long running vault space issue, and it needs to be fixed. It's been there since Destiny 1. They've publicly said we didn't expect people to want to collect this stuff that often, and Do something about it. Do anything. You haven't done a single thing.
Yeah.
Like how many times it's not just me.
No.
Every single person in the community is like, I don't have vault space. You made Chaos in Destiny 1, you started to address it, and you just abandoned that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No,
that's my first
Rant
anyway,
over.
I'm tired of saying it. I feel like, I come on this show, I
I feel
just
like
say
I'm taking crazy pills over.
yeah, I say the same criticism.
It's the
for
same
How
look
long we've been doing this
every
show?
time.
3 years?
Yeah.
Where
It's
does
funny
Bill
that
Murray
it-
just take the sledgehammer
Yeah.
on the
I
alarm
mean,
clock?
what's the sad part? It's worse right now in Destiny 2 than it was in Destiny 1.
Yep.
That is regression, and it's about the 3-step process. Listen, confirm, and act.
Yeah.
I think they're listening. I'm
They-
actually not sure.
Deej literally said, just delete stuff.
They actually
That
no,
was
to
the solution.
Yeah, no, but to be fair, yeah, I guess a little bit with DJ, we've heard a little confirmation, but not really. So we need those steps. I agree. Anyway, I'm right there with you, man. Like,
Anyway,
they're talking
who's
about all
next?
this new stuff. The only thing they cleared up was that the mods stuff. They talked about how mods are going to be able to quickly convert into legendaries, and you can buy mods that you want. That will barely help, but okay. Anyway,
A mod system fix.
Sean, do you got one?
Yeah, I didn't. I wish they had addressed a little bit more, like head on the changes to PvP gameplay. Like
Yes.
they announced some changes in terms of like incentivizing and like what you might be able to earn. That's cool. And they, gave us private matches, or they say that stuff's coming. What I want to know is like, are you trying to address the whole issue where PvP is not fun because it's just groups of 4 people running around in groups all the time?
Yep.
Because that's what I want to hear about.
That's
Nothing
my
about that.
list.
Nothing
Yeah,
about
like-
tuning on people.
So hang on. Did you actually? And I don't know if you realize this. Like they intentionally left some of the meta and the changes that are coming right away out of this, so it didn't compete. So there is a hot fix coming for December 5th.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like that's cool to know that it's
It's
coming.
too
I just
vague.
want to know what it is because here's the thing: is I still think that I like PvP and I still jump in PvP kind of regularly. What I don't like is that games seem very lopsided. Either I win in a landslide or I get wrecked and I don't score over 10 points.
I will give them props on one thing. They're going to start punishing people who leave early.
That's
They are
right.
looking
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah, I
so
mean, that's
that
great.
is
For
good.
competitive.
For competitive, but totally agree, Sean. They need to look at the PvP model. It's not working.
Just like
Yeah,
the meta,
Yeah.
Destiny 1 had this great sort of ever-changing meta, right? Like something became really, really strong, and maybe it stayed that way for a couple months, but everyone knew that it was strong, and either they adapted to it and found ways to minimize it, or Bungie made a change.
Yeah.
So far, there's been no changes to PvP,
Right.
with the players saying the exact same thing, which is that if you're playing, you can't jump in solo, either in quick play or in competitive, against a team of 4 and feel you'll just get totally stomped because it's all team play.
Yep.
And if you're in a group of, 3 other randoms, everyone wants to lone wolf it. There needs to be some mechanism of gameplay that allows that to like flourish a little bit.
Definitely.
I'm not
Brent,
asking for them to change the meta entirely, but just
Yeah.
an
No,
update is if they're
to-
looking at it would be great.
Maybe to be fair, like CJ's saying, we actually don't know what's coming. Here's what they said, which is how I described it was it's vague. That's the problem. They said Crucible tuning, like adjusted supremacy scoring and better spawning rules, like those things. So
They've
in
brought that
December, we will introduce additional updates and bug fixes intended to improve these areas of the Crucible. So yeah, it's vague. I don't know what they're gonna do beyond
Well,
that.
one
But
thing-
see, that sounds like not cosmetic, but like what I would call like little quality of life changes. I'm looking
Yeah.
for kind of like
No balance, and I'm
yeah,
100%.
like
yeah.
kind of
Guys,
the core
specifically,
gameplay,
they
you know?
have clarified about the supremacy note. They're going to change how scoring works
Yeah.
and spawn rules. So I think they're only talking about supremacy.
That's
At
what it
least
sounds
that's
like.
what I took away from
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
But that is the point.
Yeah.
There's no confirmation that they may think that there's a lack of balance. There's sort of there's a
No,
lot
it's
of people
great.
complaining. We know there's people who love it.
Yeah.
But I hear a lot of people complain.
Yeah.
So how are we addressing that?
And some of the, I mean, I'm going to get to my topic next after Fran, but a lot of what I have to say falls in line with that. And
Is
what
it Crucible stuff?
It is.
Yeah, you should go next.
No, I want to go last for a specific reason because I want to get your guys' take on something.
Cool.
But I mean, I think the other thing too is that you see games like Fortnite and Call of Duty and this and that, and this is another thing that came out is a lot of those developers are engaging with their community. They're making changes very quickly, and when people are seeing that, and I don't know how many tweets I saw where they're like, "Hey guys, see how quickly other people are changing their metas and stuff." There's an importance, I think, in being open about like, hey, if this is not working, are we going to wait 6 months, 3 months, a year for those changes?
Fortnite, hey, the AR is broken. 2 days later, it's fixed.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of the thing is like you strive to be good in PvP, right? Like the whole goal of jumping into PvP, one, obviously to have fun and stuff, but two, to work as a team and then over time improve your skills so that you're a better player, right? But the problem is at the end of that game, when all 8 players in the game are really good, you're basically fighting at a standstill. That's not fun. When it's your team of 3 against another team of 4, you're like,
Four
it's
on
4
four.
What I'm saying, you and your 3 teammates.
Oh, yeah,
versus a team of 4.
Yeah.
But 4v4, it gets to be this really slow, very like methodical, almost too tactful play style that doesn't suit the whole like I'm a guardian, I feel powerful, I can run around and slam on people and use my super. Like it doesn't facilitate that sort of open and fast gameplay that Destiny was so good about in year 1, or I mean
There it
in the
is.
first one.
Yep.
Waiting for it.
I'll come back.
It's no
to it.
Destiny 1.
Fran, you had a note you wanted to bring up.
Oh yeah, so my you already named 2 of the things, and my third thing was just the whole. There wasn't really a commentary on the end screen reward or getting rewards throughout the raid.
Right.
You know, and I think that's something that's really big for us.
Well, wait, what do you mean for Crucible? Because they did say they're going to work on Crucible incentives on the end screen.
Actually, it's funny. I thought not in that update though.
Yeah.
I thought I did read that somewhere.
But do you read that
that's
as
coming,
like
that's good.
And strikes are going to have more tokens.
That is
stuff
true,
like
but
that.
then the one for me was the raid chest. Was that we still it says you can go back to Banshee without clearing it all, but you're still turning in tokens in the raid, and like we all want drops in the raid.
So in the raid, the tokens are automatically redeemed at him. It sounds like.
No,
Or
they
something?
said
like it was.
you don't
I didn't
have
really
to
understand
clear
Yes.
the raid to cash in.
to go back.
Right.
But you still got to go back to the tower in order to go in there. The biggest thing is think of Callus right now. Wouldn't it be cool if all of a sudden you beat Callus and one person on the screen got some
Alone as a
crazy,
god.
exactly,
That's what
alone
I'm-
as a god
that's-
and or exotic drop after he goes down. The moment he explodes.
That's how it needs to be again. Like,
Yes.
why? Who said get rid of the amazing drops that everybody doesn't shut up about?
That
and
there's
is
like
super stuff
videos
to
all
talk
over
about?
the internet. Oh my god, Gallahorn! Because now you go, hey, oh, I got an exotic.
Yeah.
That is what happens. today.
exactly. Oh, it's an Engram.
Oh, I
Hey.
got an Engram.
Like
Back
that's
to
the
the
raid
tower.
chest, right?
Dum, dum, dum,
That is the
dum.
difference that I'm talking about.
yeah, and then you're
That's
like, oh, I'm so excited to open this at the Cryptarch. Open it, it's one you already have.
Aw, the
Yeah.
same thing.
That's
five
they
times.
said they want to work on exotic
Duplicate
duplication, which is great. Duplicate
Yep.
protection. Luke was talking about it, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just nuts that anybody thought that was a good idea to get rid of the clear drops during
Same
the
for
raid.
Nightfall, man. Like I love playing
How
the
was that
raid.
decision
Actually,
made?
yeah, I love playing the raid, but it's a huge takeaway that like just this long drawn out thing with these tokens and a blue or whatever.
Yeah.
But I want to get a cash in moment at those challenges and stuff. Oh, it'd be great.
Dude,
Yeah.
thinking back at it when we were editing all the first, like that was one of those features that we did, and I think we both were working on it with the audio sound cues, talking about like all people's reactions when they went up and opened the chest and at the raid bosses and at like those were all the moments I used, like when Gallahorn pops out of the chest or like drops from a boss, and it's like,
Yeah, you
And
know
you
what?
have no association with that. You don't have. You
Gone.
don't get excited at the end of Crucible anymore because you get blues. You don't get excited at the end of Strike because you don't get anything. During the raid, you don't get anything. It's like, why was that choice made? That is bizarre to me. Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, what's really
That's literally been your marketing material since Destiny 1.
Yeah, you
Sorry,
know what's
Brad.
funny? I think you can think of it as like we've talked about it so often. It is like the gambling and putting the quarter in.
Yeah.
And we used to put the quarter in at the beginning of the raid, and then you'd pull like the lever and maybe put another quarter in later. But the point is, right there, you get a cash out moment.
Yeah.
Whereas now you have to like save all this up, and you can't do anything until you go back to the tower.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Is I like condense everything into this moment, and all my friends already left. They went to bed.
Yeah.
It's like done, and I'm like, oh, nobody's even here.
Yeah.
I stopped streaming too.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, well, I
exactly.
should have done that on stream.
nobody cares.
It really is. It's a very different workflow, is my point,
Yeah.
and I think they really need to look at that.
That's a really good point. I'll go next. I'll do one of mine. So one of my questions, we're talking about a lot of stuff that was in Destiny 1.
This is another negative. You had the vault space, so this is the second negative.
No, we
right?
said you had
Yeah,
three.
we're
Okay.
all 3 negatives, 3
Oh.
positives.
DJ just didn't get his one. in.
Whoa, that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go. That's all right, because I want you guys. I
Yeah.
want to have some input.
He's
on
got
it
like
from you
a
guys.
Yeah,
it's props.
Oh, I do.
So my question is, why wasn't this here? Or sorry, no, that one's later.
It's gonna be a
Yeah,
long.
no.
Organized.
It's gonna be a long
So
episode.
it was in Destiny 1. Why wasn't it there at launch? Because now it
Yeah.
seems like
Which-
if you're like, I'm gonna stick to this design philosophy for Destiny 2.
You're talking about private matches though?
All of it.
Yeah.
Private matches were in Destiny 1. Being able to buy stuff at vendors was in Destiny 1. Rerollable weapons was
How much
in
time do
Destiny
we
1.
have?
All the Zerthria coins was in Destiny 1. And they're like, hey, we're bringing a bunch of
I
stuff
think
back.
if you listen to the podcast, you get a little insight on it's hard to put things in and out and how long it takes testing. Quite frankly, again, I always point to Iron Banner. I just don't think they were ready. They didn't have enough
You had
resources.
3 years to test it in
Well,
Destiny
true,
1, so I don't sympathize
but
very
and then
much.
it just
Sorry.
tempered with they made some very, call it casual decisions that they wanted to
So
try out. And
there is precedence for this. I just don't want to lump it all on, on Bungie's shoulders because, for instance, a game I talk about all the time is Halo 5. At launch, Halo 5 didn't have two staples of Halo, Big Team Battle or Forge.
Okay.
But credit to 343, those features came for free within months of the game launching, so that is something that they added. The idea here is that Bungie doesn't seem to have adopted the philosophy of like that endless sort of platform of a service, which their game is.
Oh yeah.
To bring it up again, World of Warcraft doesn't have a World of Warcraft 2 in which the sequels, game systems, and foundation are different than its predecessor. There's World of Warcraft, and then there's Burning Crusade, which is more of, but also everything included in the original game. And that's not what Destiny 2 did, and it should have done.
If we go back to the old saying,
Ding.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You tried to fix a bunch of stuff people liked. Why?
Well, okay, so I think the reason why is to bring a new audience in, to bring a much more casual type of player. Now, Mark and Luke, I think, really did say it well. Like, Luke is considered the hobbyist, like me. Like, well, all of us. I would say we're all considered hobbyists, where we play Destiny, for...
I ain't no hobbyist.
Oh, yeah. I mean...
No, that's the nice term for hardcore players.
Yeah,
You're right, CJ.
They don't
If
like
a
that
casual
term.
went to Zur and he had an Engram there, he'd be like, I don't know what to do.
Hobbyist, they equate hobbyist with like hardcore.
This is the way they're
like
defining
the
it
opposite of what
internally, where it's like you play Destiny as like literally like I do, like a lifestyle.
It's the other thing you do.
Yeah, it's
You
the
work,
other
you have a
thing
hobby.
you
To
do.
me, hobbyist means casual.
Well, so they basically kind of said there's different
okay.
pools of players, and so the tourist was what they called is the person who comes into Destiny. Oh, what's going on? Look at all this stuff. It's all new. I don't really know what's going on, and you don't want the platform to be super difficult because then, like Destiny 1,
Super hard, yeah.
which Duggan flat out admits he didn't get into, fell off. And I think when it's a very risky design decision. I think it takes a lot of, it's yet to be determined yet. So I don't want to come
They
out
got
and
more
say
people in the door.
They
well,
got
new
more
I
people
should say. Maybe
in
not
the
more.
door.
New.
I
How
can
long-
buy stuff at vendors. This is too complicated for me. I gotta go.
But
I'm not gonna keep.
And I'm not defending it, but what I'm saying is I think some of the thought was those casuals are going to come in and play for a little bit, maybe enjoy the game and come back for the DLC. But what happened was the backlash is that, hey, they're also cashing out soon too. And now what? And you don't have that hardcore, passionate audience to carry you through each of the DLCs if you don't make those incentives. So, there was definitely a balance that I think they were maybe unsure of how long those players would stick around and what would be the campaign activities that would make people come back week to week. And so it's interesting at least to hear them address, those things. But you're right. There's a lot of information that you felt like, okay, we don't have the data. You knew that people were sticking around for these things in Destiny 1. Yeah, was it not finished? Was it intentional to maybe have this like this initially and then deploy it later for
And even
more
with
of an incentive?
things like private matches, I'm willing to give Bungie the benefit of the doubt on stuff like that because here's the thing, like we know that Bungie's netcode for Destiny is more complex than most other games. Like it's not just a regular you queue up for matchmaking and boom, you're in the game because the whole game is its own matchmaking system.
Yeah.
So the net code and stuff, I'm not a developer, but I know it's really complicated. So it's cool that it's coming and coming soon, but not even into just terms of private matches, but in terms of other things, right? Like they just need more robust systems that encourage the more hardcore players to kind of keep playing.
They know that though. I think now, especially if they did
now
before,
because we're all like,
know.
we're done.
yeah, and they're hearing
That's
that
what the community is
message.
saying.
Yeah, I really think they need a PTR, and I think Duggan probably wishes he was here for this part of it.
Well,
but-
he brought that up a long time ago.
Did he?
Yeah,
Yeah.
PTR
Well,
is
we
such
all
a
did.
great- yeah.
It's but my main point there is they need to be less afraid. You've got games like Fortnite that just suddenly launched Battle Royale, and it's one of the biggest games in the world now. Obviously, PUBG did it before that.
PTR for PvP.
whatever. It doesn't matter.
I don't know about PvE.
No,
No,
I mean,
yeah,
it can work
for
both
anything.
ways. Yeah,
My
it can
point
work
is-
both ways.
Yes, they need it for PvP, 100% to test things because we want that. But my point is, it's okay to have a window to maybe try something. I think that's where Bungie, they're so high polished, and you got to give them credit for that.
Yeah.
Like, their systems, the particle effects, and the way it feels is amazing. And that's
That
where
was
they're
supposed
so
to be in the
proud.
positive section of the show.
Yeah. But, well, I'm a shill after all, I guess, so I can't say anything positive.
too.
But anyway, so I just think they're very afraid to do anything, call it little, like, dirtier under the hood and expose that. But I think they need to be less afraid of that because to Sean's point, it takes kind of forever until they decide and get to something.
And then what happens when they get it wrong? Like at
And-
the end of Destiny 1.
Yeah, we don't
with
have
the
enough time to that.
Special ammo. Don't even get me
So
started. Like,
it's easier said than done, but my point would be I don't know that we'd have Battle Royale in PUBG, especially if you have people afraid to try those things. And but I think Bungie is full of probably amazing ideas that they never try.
For sure.
I'd love to see it.
Does anybody else have any notes? I had one final thing I wanted to bring up that was more of a concern, but anybody else have anything?
This was just, my main one, which I need like a few minutes to try to sell you guys on this.
All right.
Because I think, and there's a bunch of people, and I've been reading and scouring Reddit, and there's clearly some toxicity. So, being Bungie, again, it's a difficult spot. I think, like I heard Mark specifically say, when you attempt to do something and it doesn't work out maybe the way you anticipated it, like you fire into a loot cave, that hurts when there's all this other content that's talking about Destiny 1 that we did to incentivize players to do, and then people fired in a loot cave for an hour, or a week,
Many
or a
hours.
month, many hours.
I didn't do it. I never got in.
I did.
You're such a liar.
I know you did too, Fran. I
did it-
fired at the loot
no,
cave.
I
With
did it for like an hour.
I got
that was
video.
it.
I got
Anyway,
video.
Just an hour.
Long story short, I think the biggest thing that now to the forefront, and this goes along with what Sean was saying about PvP, is it kind of goes along with the 2 tokens, 2 primaries and a power. This is, I think, the fundamental thing that changed Destiny and the thing that everybody is struggling with from PvP to PvE when they talk about how the game feels and the way it plays. It was a big design philosophy shift, and John talked about it on our show at E3. We listened to podcasts about people talking about the pros and cons of it, and the con is you do not feel as powerful as you did in Destiny 1.
It's boring.
It's boring. That's fundamentally, I think, the biggest change in it. I hope that, they did really well with Trials and in these other game modes. They created innovative things in Destiny 1, which I don't really think they've done quite yet with Destiny 2. And the stuff that they have done, I don't think maybe the community or people latched onto the way people did in Destiny 1. So I want to run this by you guys. For me, I think that's the thing, right? When I'm playing Trials, when I'm playing other games, Fran, you even think about it. Think of all the Trials matches you've played.
Yeah.
What was your favorite round of Trials?
ever
Well, no, like I'm talking about the round of
Destiny
5.
1.
in general.
In Destiny 1,
Yeah.
did you like the heavy ammo round?
No, everyone hates that.
Oh yeah, no, nobody liked heavy ammo. Right?
Everyone hates that
Nobody
round.
liked that round.
I don't mind heavy.
Okay, so
Yeah, but that's because you suck.
well,
It was like an intermission. I
Sean.
shouldn't say I hated it. It was like an intermission, and it could
No,
be
it's just like
sometimes.
that's the
It
round
was
that
kind
all.
of fun because like you either catch the whole team at their heavy or you get caught.
But that's the thing is
It's a-
competitive. I mean, okay, so
that is not within the competitive community.
Yeah.
You're right. That is
personally,
not the round. That
as a
people
competitive
enjoy.
player, I hated heavy round because it upsets the balance.
It does, yeah.
It
Yeah.
was the
See-
turning point in Trials.
See, this is the fascinating perspective you're generating.
It is. It's
Competitive
interesting.
is actually a much smaller percent than everybody.
Yeah,
but
but it's the
ours
better
and
percent.
the vocal
I said
minority is huge, but it's interesting to see. Obviously, that is the problem that they face.
Well, you either flank around, you catch everybody at heavy, or you grab heavy and you make a play against the other team.
But the point is, it's always a roll of the dice. Like
It
on
could
the heavy
screw
round,
up your whole match.
yeah, on the heavy round, the better team doesn't always win.
Well, and they changed it in Trials. It used to be, hey, you just both sit around for 15 seconds and wait for your own power or
Yep.
heavy to spawn. Then it was like, hey, there's a
Pushed you
central
to
one in the
a
middle.
spot, yeah.
Either way, for the most part, and I would
Trials
say
in
competitive.
Destiny 1, in my opinion, is one of the best multiplayer modes I've ever played in any game ever. So, like, I have no critiques about
I didn't
it having
mind
a
the
heavy
heavy
round.
round,
I liked
like-
it. I didn't mind it at all.
So, okay, that's interesting.
You said
so,
hate. I wanted to walk that
That's
back.
that's
I don't
fair.
hate it.
That's fair. I would say then the better way to describe it is it was the one round that, like playing competitively, people would just wave and be like, "Oh, that means you're not going to."
Well,
pick
they
up the
officially
heavy
added
ammo.
it to the game.
Yeah, you wave and you're just not going to pick up heavy because this breaks the flow of the game. That was something that people did to eliminate that round. So now we have a round of Trials that's what? I pick up a rocket every 15 seconds and run and wait and shoot the team.
I'm not being facetious when I say our strategy, like early on in Trials, was to just delay, like don't fight people, spot where they are,
Destiny
communicate.
2?
Yeah, in Destiny 2.
Yeah.
Especially on that first map, like the big open one on the crazy planet. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah,
but like just delay, spot where they're going until rockets pop, and then we get rockets and kill their whole team.
Yeah, like
And
that.
I don't know how many times I went flawless in a row just doing that with the same dude on my team, Bodum. Shout out to Bodum Reaper.
Yeah.
Just getting rockets because he's really good, and then he was the first person to get Sins of the Past from the raid. So he would just come flying through when everyone's fighting, and because it takes everyone so long to kill each other, we had so much time to grab rockets and just kill everyone. It's just not that's not fun, man. It's not fun. You don't feel good. And it got to the point where my own team was like, dude, you're such a troll.
I know.
I think CJ's got to finish his point.
I got to finish up, and I mean, I don't post to Reddit and do all this stuff, so this is the moment. So you got to humor me for another 5 minutes. But I'm going to ask you guys the question. So to me, that's the biggest problem with even general Crucible is you're eliminating shotguns, snipers, and fusions out of that secondary slot.
Yeah.
It's not available, and only
Now they're in the rocket slot.
They're in the rocket
and
slot.
guess what? Rockets are always better.
They're always better. So most people are getting that with power. So what can we do to potentially change that? And I don't think that you're going to put those in a secondary slot. Like they're not going to change what they fundamentally did and walk that back. Like
Sounds like a great topic for the next episode.
Yeah,
does.
that's like a whole topic that I would have to prep for to be.
It is.
correct.
So I'm going to give you just the Cole's notes for what I think should happen. I'm excited.
This is still the what you didn't like.
No, this is still the what I didn't like, but I think is what people are talking about that could change. The perk with the Masterworks where you shoot somebody and an orb pops out, or however it's going to happen, it generates orbs. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what you're laughing at.
I'm wondering where you're going with
I
this.
know. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because that's going to change the game. Do you think you're super slow and
We don't know that it works in PvP yet, do we?
We don't, but I'm hoping it does. Like
Well,
if you
orb
get,
generation.
Yeah, it's multi-kills. Like if you get a multi-kill.
Orb didn't know. You have orb generation that was PvE only in Destiny.
Yeah, but it says that it generates it for you and your teammates. So you're right. I hope it's in PvP. Long story. What could we do to allow you to equip a sniper fusion shotgun and get ammo? And what I think should happen is there should be some kind of mod system that lets you just infuse or like have it into those 3 weapons so that if you end up coming across the Guardian in PvP, there's an incentive to kill him with your primary, and the green ammo that pops out of his head, which does happen sometimes if you melee them or do whatever, powers up your sniper rifle,
Slower.
shotgun, with like maybe 2 rounds.
That's interesting. That sounds cool.
So there's
You're saying if they're carrying power?
if you no,
Just in
that's
general.
different. If it's a mod, say that
The mod. If you just get kills, you get green ammo that
Powers up your head.
power.
yeah, because
Sounds very intuitive.
To agree with you, one of the major problems is that only one person gets heavy. Like in PvP, you all just like run there. It's like, who got it? Oh, Bob got it.
I agree.
Unless
It's a
you're
problem.
because I always charge you off of-
shoulder charge.
Yeah.
Your head is in the right place, by the way. I don't know. I've heard this from CJ before. Like
I had
don't
to
know-
say it.
It's
I've
a
been
very
talking about it for a
complex
while.
thing, and it could be really cool. I think there's probably a lot of ideas. It needs to be addressed. Whatever.
Yeah.
I just don't know what the solution is.
But this orb generation thing made me excited because to me, that's the kind of innovation that I think they need to do. Because right now, PvP does feel a little bit stale. Like you can't make it be.
That's the parallel. I see.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's going to change the game.
You want to see things.
You want more things like that.
Yeah,
Yes.
push the gameplay forward.
Yeah,
Why
because
can't they just drop
gameplay
some
is the
power ammo
strongest part.
occasionally
they
when you
can't drop power ammo because everybody be firing rockets everywhere. So you have to have
No, but
it.
not if it's very random.
No, because you still are always going to use a rocket over sniper's fusion shotgun. Like right now,
That's right. Your theory was leave rockets to power still, but the ones that were energy secondary weapons, only those would allow to be benefited.
Or
with this.
or you
Okay.
can spec
different,
it.
right?
Like, let's
Like-
say the mod says like when you equip this, picking up special ammo increases your sniper drop or
Yes.
whatever.
That's what
like
we're
it's
saying, yeah.
specific. You
Or
know?
I forgot it
Those,
was
like-
only a select group of weapons that benefit from it.
right.
All power.
Yeah,
so
that
to
would be
me,
cool.
there needs to be something.
They should
that
call it a Destiny 1
fundamentally
mod.
change-
And it's a little powered up, and then boom, it's just like it was in Destiny 1 for the next 5 minutes.
So that's another.
The game is the next 5 minutes, everybody. It's the same as it used to be. The graphics are like changed. It's like,
For 5 minutes, you're playing Destiny 1 again.
Man.
Oh, this is amazing.
That would be awesome.
So
But
funny.
you can't put those weapons into the slot because you have a No Land Beyond thing again. That is not. Oh, God.
I'm joking.
I know, but it is weird. Like, that's what people want. They want some kind of thing like Destiny 1 where you feel powerful. There's too much information in PvP. We know when people are casting supers. We know what weapons they have when they pick up power. We know this. We know that.
Dude,
so
it is a like I
so
love
weird.
fusion. So here's like I can sum it up for myself. I love fusion. I want to use it more. I don't want to fight for that stupid power ammo. But I tell you what, I don't want to go back to getting in and getting sniped by Crafty and I don't want to do that part. So I want. Guess what? I want to have my cake and eat it too.
No.
And I don't know how to solve it.
This
either,
is your cake,
without
though.
testing it.
This is your cake right now.
I don't know.
PvP is your cake.
I think your idea could be interesting, but perfect PTR type thing. Like, can we get a test environment and try this stuff?
That mod system could just be way more robust, man. I can think of a lot of really cool ways they could change up the gameplay doing just that idea.
Yeah, we don't know what those mods are going to be yet. It's going to be really interesting. The final thing that I wanted to bring up was more of a concern, and I brought it up in my preview for Curse of Osiris, actually, talking about how all the content expansions are sort of in silos. Like you have Dark Below and House of Wolves. They're just kind of in silos. You complete that. And with Curse of Osiris around the corner, I'm like, it's the same thing again. It's just this DLC that's in a silo.
Yeah.
And when they said that it sounds like it sounds like they have difficulty communicating with internal teams. I'm like, oh, that's like a big red flag.
About what, though?
Like, oh man, we want to make this DLC. Did anybody tell the sound team yet? I'm just like, how are you not all on the same page? If
That's
you're
not a quote, obviously, right?
It's paraphrasing, but
yeah.
It was concerning to me to hear that they seem to have difficulty communicating across teams internally.
Well, we heard it on the podcast, actually. It's like we did all these things, then Barrett has to carry this whole game forward, and then like actually we need to enable him a little better to be able to do that with things that are going on.
Yeah, and like Barrett's working on stuff, but these guys are working on
It's
something
crazy to me
else,
because,
and
like,
they're not
hold
married
on.
together.
What are the other two studios that are working on this game doing?
It's not that; it's within the studio. I mean, Sean, you
No, but
can
I mean,
relate.
I'm just saying, like, what
Yeah, at IGN.
if they're no, I totally get it. I'm not saying that
talking about like
because
High
they,
Moon and Vicarious. Or
yeah,
something?
all I'm saying is like
Vicarious is probably
Maintaining the
mostly done.
PC platform.
Yeah,
but that's kind of what I was saying is like they onboarded two other studios.
High Moon might have made all the ornament systems. Maybe they made a map. I don't know what they do exactly.
Assets, effects, like they're doing stuff like that. But
Okay.
their
Part
core
of the-
design decisions are at Bungie.
And yeah, and I'm not disagreeing anything about that. What I'm saying is like having two extra studios on board when you can't get your internal communications in line makes the whole machine more inefficient. And what I'm saying is like if it were efficient, potentially those other two studios could be cranking out new strikes and DLC like all the live long day, which is what I've been saying I want all the time.
And it's concerning. Like the Curse of Osiris content that I got to play, it's just like it's so separate from what happens in the core campaign that it's just kind of like, oh, so it's another disjointed circle like piece of content that we're gonna eat up, and then we're just gonna be sitting around waiting for something new.
See, that's kind of a
Is
bummer,
you're
man,
worried
because
about
just
it.
like it needs to feel tied. Destiny does this great thing of where all the events, even PvP and stuff, feel tied into this grander, always progressing narrative, right? That's been their philosophy the whole time. Is like you can experience the story in the world in any order at your own pace, no matter what you choose to do. And that's an awesome philosophy, and that's what I think makes it so popular. But like, yeah, if you keep adding pieces and they're all
Disjointed.
disjointed, like you're gonna not get this sense of cohesion.
I know what
guys,
you're getting at.
so imagine this. Sorry, Frank. Go ahead.
Is it about the story though, Dustin? I actually don't totally understand.
In Destiny 1?
Why is it in a silo for you? What part of it? Because
Okay,
it is a continuation of the story, technically.
How does Dark Below continue the story of you bringing the Traveler back to life?
I don't even remember.
It doesn't in any way.
Yeah.
Is the answer. Neither does Taken King, which involves the Reef and that sort of group, and neither does any of the content. And
but
none
Curse,
of it is ever married together. So, well, I mean, you're going to play Curse. We're all going to play Curse next week.
Okay, hold on. But the Taken King did a really good job of it because once
Brought
once
some
the
of the
Taken
world stuff back.
Taken
well,
King is
also
an example
total
of one
where
of the
they
best
did a good
times
job
they've
with
done
it.
it.
Yeah,
Done it
because
pretty
like
well.
Oryx comes, and yes, you're still on the Dreadnought, and that's where the raid happens, and
Dreadnought
that's all that stuff. But the Taken are everywhere; they're in every
Totally,
place,
yeah.
and it feels like your whole solar system.
I think we all get that. I was just saying, what's the problem with Curse of Osiris in terms of it feeling so siloed?
You're going to find out next week.
Oh, okay.
I can't just tell
I didn't
you.
know that's the piece of it that. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, basically what I'm saying is all the narrative campaign expansions, they never build towards anything. Imagine if the expansions continually added to the story of the overall world of Destiny
Like a
and
comic
built up
book.
to the finale of Destiny 2. and you're making philosophies and theories about what's going to happen between each expansion. And that cannot happen if your internal teams cannot communicate and come up with some sort of lateral progression of the story. Sorry for hitting the mic. Some sort of lateral progression of the story. If you're just it's
about the story.
Team A is going to make
forward,
everything
but
a silo.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at. It seems to be a lot about the way they're handling
the lore and the story.
Yeah.
I was getting at like for me, I like the story and all, and I think it's really important. But at
But
the end of
what
the day, I'm all
story,
gameplay.
you know?
So like, I
Oh,
just
yeah,
hope
okay.
that the gameplay doesn't feel siloed. That's what's important to me.
yeah.
That's what I was trying to get at. It's about the story, apparently.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it next week. The
mean,
the DLC will be out. And,
To me, that's where the
We'll be at PSX and the Game Awards.
we're recording Thursday.
Oh,
Yeah,
great.
I mean, to me, that's what was the interesting thing about listening to the guys talk kind of candidly. It's like, I mean, IGN's a fairly big company. I find it's funny how sometimes when we do video production things, it's like there's supposed to be a chain of command. There's supposed to be things that happen in a certain way, but somewhere along the way, something happens. And then when you don't know why that thing's happening, you're like, oh, I didn't do that. And then you're like, and back up to figure out where that puzzle
That's what I was
piece
saying,
got disconnected.
Easy
right?
to get.
So I'm not saying like that. I mean, I sympathize with them in a way because I think when we talk with them and understand what they're going through, you kind of say, okay, I get it. But from a customer standpoint, I'm not saying I agree with that, and I get why people are frustrated. Like, makes a lot of sense. Last thing we didn't really talk about that they did mention also in there was the Bright Engram thing in the XP throttling.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Oh yes. By the way,
yeah.
the XP throttling, we haven't really talked about it
No.
too much.
Wasn't
That's messed
intentional.
up.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
And what I did want to say really quickly is that, and I'll let you give maybe a summary of it, but long story short, I think a lot of people know what it is and what happened if you haven't read up on it. But they did kind of even jokingly say, like, it's crazy that I don't think they really even knew that it was displaying incorrectly or something. Again, whether or not, like, this is factual, like, you can decide whether or not you believe. I mean,
Intentional
and
maybe is the word,
intentional,
yeah.
right? And so I think it's interesting. They even joke like, "Oh, we saw the guy's Reddit post. We should give that guy a job." Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy that you think you might know everything that's going on in there, but massive company, like it's a big company,
Yeah.
and so to know every little detail for everybody to be totally in sync. It is probably very difficult,
Shill.
but there it is. Yeah,
No, I mean,
exactly.
you can never be careful to be too objective.
No. But so there is definitely that side, which was nice to hear.
Yeah.
But then there is the other side, which it's
What
a
if they did know? Sure.
microtransaction.
Yeah.
What if, there are some legit concerns.
some of
there.
that.
Hearing them
Sure, yeah.
speak about it, it feels like it was fairly innocent, but
Yeah.
from external perspective, it's just like, so wait, you're throttling the XP
Yes.
to incentivize purchases of this thing? That's not okay.
Well,
that's like a problem.
That's the big thing. But what happened was, you're right, XP will chain depending on how long you're playing or if it's short
Yeah,
stuff.
it's like public
meant-
events drop.
It's meant that during slower times you get you're more rewarded in times where it might be more difficult. Anyway, there's a whole balance thing they thought was working. But the problem was the HUD was not really displaying things accurately
Yeah.
when things were slower or faster. So it seems deceptive.
Yeah.
And they basically said, "Oh yeah, it's
Well,
they
still
said it-
broken.
They
It
sort
is
of said
totally
it's
broken, and they admitted
confusing
it.
and broken. We
I was
just sort
gonna
of
say,
stripped it.
Best case scenario, it's confusing and deceptive, and then worst case scenario, it's malicious. Like
Yeah.
the whole
That's
again,
what's scary.
Yes.
it boggles my mind that devs could fundamentally misunderstand that their hardcore players are all about min maxing, right? So if there's this system. And you know that they're going to maximize it, and you
Transparency.
design the system so that it's minimizing their efforts by throttling the XP. That is a huge problem.
Well,
like that's egregiously terrible.
That's not the problem. It's the fact that it was not communicated. So if that's
it was- if it was
happening,
Yeah,
communicated,
but that's
No,
the
it
thing
was
is
a
like,
problem.
but that's what I mean.
but
so it
the
needs
other
to
argument
actually
that the
have-
devs have, or the other argument that the community has, though, is like that might be the case. They might just not have said that. But why wouldn't they have said that? Because they were hoping potentially, probably, this is what people are saying, not me.
Yeah.
That they're only now communicating it because they got caught.
For sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely, could be an option.
And the progress bar, I think that's what they're going to address and hopefully fix is that there's, like, again, I love it when we have cameras. We have a bunch of cameras that they tell you, oh, there's a chunk left in the camera. How much is that? I don't know. Could be like 10 minutes left of recording time. Could be maybe an hour. You're not sure. What's really good is when the battery counts down from 20 minutes. 18.
Percent.
A percent. Like, but you know how many minutes are left. So there's no line to say, hey, you have this much XP. What is that number? If I highlight over the bar, show
I mean, it
me
was hidden,
what is my actual progress. No, but like, yeah, but not just the bar. Like, what is the
No,
number?
totally. I was saying, yeah,
Like,
it was
it's
just hidden
funny-
XP. That's the problem.
It's
that
just
simple.
funny that like in every other facet of the game, they over communicate on icons and communicating like everything. Like in PvP, you know everything that happens, like who picks up what weapons they have, and all that nonsense. And then in this aspect, they're like, oh, all those indicators are gone, and you kind of just have to figure it out.
I already don't trust the system.
Like,
The
did you
fact-
watch
the-
how that player deciphered that he was getting less XP for doing particular events?
I
Like,
was reading it,
that's a very scientific thing he had
yeah,
to do.
it's
Like,
really
a
good.
regular player would not be able to do that.
demonstrable rigor in Luke Smith's words. That guy.
Yeah, I already don't trust the engram and drop system, and then to hear that there's a major problem tied to bright engrams, it's like, oh, what happened there?
Well, yeah, you already don't trust the system, and then to hear that some guardian out there proved it was actually working against you in one aspect of the game, that's not.
Yeah.
That's a little disconcerting.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Duplicate
What else is
protection.
working against
They
me?
did hear Destin. Duplicate
Well,
protection. We'll see
And actually,
how,
you should listen to their podcast because they also talk about something we bring up a lot that sounds like I was joking about the objectivity of how hard something is, and it's never easy as seem, and we don't know. We're not developers, right? But they talk about that on there. They actually give you some examples. The XP thing they say was a flag, as they described it, and they had the conversation, and they said, well, if we flip it off, I think it'll be okay. But it was fairly easy to like try, where other things
And it
like,
didn't fix it.
They talked about the trials emote that we all said, like, why don't you strip it out? And they used terms like, well, it was actually it's client side, so it's it's on the
Break
game
the
locally,
game.
but also the services were out for PC. And I was more convinced when I was mad actually about the trials in the emote. I was like, what is going on? Just take it out of the game. When you hear that, it's pretty interesting. So check out the podcast.
Yeah.
Very worthwhile. Yeah.
You've talked about something though, and I think this is what the community is feeling. You always say people don't care if you're having a bad day. Do your job.
Yes.
You know,
They're very true.
Like,
yeah.
like it doesn't matter what's going on at home
100%.
or
How hungry you
know how hungry you are. It's like you have a job to do. Get it done.
Yeah, and
You know.
and that's, we care in a way because we're invested into the game. But absolutely, I mean, I joke. I've been married for a long time and I have a bunch of kids. It's like, guess what? Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I got a job to do, and that's the reality. The people I think who are interested
racket.
and invested, they care. But everybody else, tough racket. Paid me money. Give me the product. Let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Sign on the line that is dotted.
I think that's everything we have for
Going
this
out
week, guys.
now.
Does anybody else have anything they would like to bring up before we head out?
I just
right.
want to hear Fran quote the rest of the movie. Sorry. Yeah.
Look at it.
Extra long show this week, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Let us know what you think about the update and all of our comments on this week's show. Head on over to youtube.com/fireteamchat. Leave a sub. That is it for this week, everybody. Until next time, Guardians out. I am starving. Please subscribe. None of us have,
Subscribe.
we are deliriously hungry, and they won't let us leave until we do the
That's right.
outro.
That was the longest
please.
episode in how long? And anyways, also thank you for all the comments, and hopefully Destin will get some food and be all good in the future.
I think there's a
Bye. I'm
subscribe.
going to go eat.
Thanks, guys.
Ah, sorry, Alexio.